It's well known that cancer can be devastating for health and emotional well-being, but it can also be a very serious problem financially. One response to that is the help for people living with cancer from the Joe Andruzzi Foundation. To tell us about its work is the president and CEO, Jennifer Andruzzi. Jennifer, of course, you're also the wife of Joe.
Yes.
Tell me the story about this, how this got started, I think when Joe himself had cancer.
Yes, Joe was diagnosed with cancer in May of 2007. We were in Cleveland at the time and quickly relocated to Boston. Joe was on a clinical trial. His treatment was 3 months, and it was eye-opening. We were always watching our friends or family members go through the battle of cancer, but being on the other side and experiencing it firsthand is something that you can't understand unless you go through it.
And it's hard for people like us to picture it. I mean, here's a guy who's playing football for the New England Patriots. Next thing you know, he's a cancer patient.
Right. Yeah, like you snap your hand and it happens. I mean, the doctor said when, what was the cause? Like, was there something? Is it the virus I had in 2002? Is it? He's like, no, it's like walking across the street and getting hit by a car. It's that fast. And cancer, you don't get to stop, pause, let's assess for a month. Do we really want to do this, right? It's fast acting. It's sometimes some diagnoses are, your treatment is your life. Like you need to go through, for the most part, the greater percentage of cancer diagnoses is you have to act quickly. And that was something that we had to do as a family.
Well, in your foundation, you're focusing on part of the equation here, which is financial. Some people, they have good coverage, maybe they have a lot of savings, but I guess that's not the case for most people.
No, unfortunately not. I mean, cancer patients are 2 times more likely to file for bankruptcy than non-cancer patients. The stats that are out there and the knowledge that we can, educate ourselves with is, the information is out there, but it's the conversations we need to start having. So it becomes not something that somebody doesn't feel comfortable talking about, right? The fact that only 1/3 of cancer patients are able to stay full-time on their job full-time, that's a lot. That means, more than less than half of them, right? So income levels go below $25,000 or less. Like how can you have a family and go through the diagnosis of cancer and then have the cost of cancer come along with it? That's the scary thing.
Well, in one level, you've got the stress of having to think of something else that needs to be dealt with quickly. But on the other hand, how does this affect people's decisions about treatment? Because I'm sure it casts a shadow somehow.
Yeah. That is, I think, the thing that hurts my heart the most. People make decisions to fill prescriptions, to cut their prescription in half. Insurances cover some things, they don't cover all things. There are other aids out there and resources to help, but for a cancer patient to have to decide, am I going to fill this script that's a part of my treatment, or am I going to pay my mortgage this month so my family is under a roof? That's something no patient, no human being should have to make that decision. And those are the things that some cancer patients are having to face.
Because the other thing is the length of time during which people have to struggle with cancer. You have a lot of trial and error, setbacks and progress. It can go on for a long time.
It can go on for a long time. In March of this year, we awarded our 10,000th financial assistance grant. And as it was a time to celebrate that we've been able to support so many individuals and families, it was also a time where we really paused to say, there's 10,000 more out there, and plus, right? But this individual that received this award, she's stage 4 breast cancer patient who was diagnosed in 2015, right? She was actually diagnosed when she was pregnant with her second child. This woman has been going through cancer for 4 years. Her husband got laid off in January of 19. So they've been having the effects of cancer for 4 years, even prior to having that financial real like gasp of, wow, my husband's been laid off. Now we have to even turn to our savings even more. So, there's so many different variations of what it can look like for somebody, but the appearance is, oh, this young family, they're doing great, they look healthy. Perception's not reality, right? Behind the closed doors, they are dealing with a cancer journey that they've been dealing with for 4 years, and the cost of cancer that they're having to face on a day-to-day is huge for them.
This is BNN News, and we're talking with Jennifer Andruzzi from the Joe Andruzzi Foundation. Jennifer, I know you and Joe are filling a gap that's not filled otherwise, but how do you decide which people get the help?
Well, they all get the help if they qualify, really. We service all 6 states in New England. We're very proud to say that 5% or less are not funded, and that really, it doesn't mean they're declined. It means that through the process, there was something where they didn't qualify or paperwork hadn't been submitted, but the greater percent, 95%, we are funding, and it's going into the hands of the people in our community. It's going to families of 1 to families of 8. There's no criteria when it comes to age or income. You have to show that the need is there. But again, like the family I just shared, they were doing very well. If you looked back in their lifetime 6 months before, but because of a layoff, their income, there was a substantial drop. So we really pride ourselves on being there for any cancer patient family throughout New England. Age, there's no age requirement, there's no diagnosis, so we support any cancer diagnosis, in New England.
You and Joe have been doing this now for at least a few years. How do you feel about spending so much time in this and getting engaged with what's happening to so many other people?
I don't know. This is 11 years. This is 11 years for us.
Some people want to put that behind them, but you're
well,
digging in deeper.
I will say, Joe had a point where right after diagnosis, he definitely, and he would share this if he were here, and he's shared it publicly. He had a little bit, a depression after his treatment. And, cancer took a lot from him, right? He was, like you said, a big, strong NFL player. And now he was forced into retirement. He could barely walk up the driveway. He couldn't even lift a 2-pound weight. So his world went from, turned really upside down. And I paused, we did pause. We had talked about it and we took pause. And then, he spoke to a cancer patient and he saw what he did for that person and really thought wow, through the idea that Jen had, we can help so many families, so many individuals. Is it tough work? Absolutely. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. There's no glamour when you are passionate about a disease that's devastating. We all are sadly touched in so many ways, really, honestly. I know I have 2 things personally right now that I was on the phone with people that have to do with a cancer diagnosis, and that's family. It's not going to go away, but I would say, the passion that I have is to help be the voice for those that need help, that need a voice to say, the cost of cancer, it's something that we need to talk about. Cancer patients should not have to face this alone. They shouldn't have to face it alone. We're here to say, patients shouldn't have to think about, can they go to their next treatment? Can they pay their prescription? How are we going to make our mortgage? How are we going to do this? Are we going to lose our savings? Will we go bankrupt? We need to make the conversation happen so we can change it, right? Foundations are started because they have a mission to solve the problem. We are here to solve the problem of, the financial barrier cancer patients have to face. And
I imagine a lot of people want to find out more, so is there a place online where they can do that?
Yeah, please, the Joe Andruzzi Foundation.org. And I would encourage, look at the patient stories, because those are really the individuals that are finding the support and getting the support from the Joe Andruzzi Foundation. But you might see yourself in some of those stories and really be able to, it will hit home.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Jennifer Andruzzi. We'll have more news in just a moment.